Shafqat in Conversation with Ayesha Mian. Our moderator is Saad Shafqat in Conversation with Ayesha Mian. I will start off with their introductions. Dr. Saad Shafqat is a professor of neurology at the Aga Khan University. In addition to being a published author, cricket columnist, and novelist, he has co-authored Cutting Edge, published in 2003. His novel, Breath of Death, a medical thriller, appeared in 2013. His latest novel, Rivals, is a hospital drama set in Karachi and was recently published by Bloomsbury. Secondly, we have Dr. Ayesha Mian, a member of the Executive Council of the International Association of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry and Allied Professions. She has been awarded the Distinguished Fellow Prize for her continuous services in pediatric mental health. She is also a prolific clinical educator and has developed multiple curricula and educational programs. Recently, she was elected as a senior fellow by the Higher Education Committee UK for her leadership in medical education. Please join me in giving them a big hand.
और इनके लिए हाँ इनका Paji, take pictures. Yeah, mine is working. Yours is not? Maybe we can share this.
कोशिश करके शेयर कर लेंगे आप लोग अस्सलाम वालेकुम एवरीवन एंड आई नो फॉर कराची एंड अ सैटरडे 11 o'clock is also early morning so thank you for joining our session today आप लोग सोच रहे होंगे हम दोनों के बायो से कि ये दो डॉक्टर हजरात जो हैं यहाँ पे किताबों की बातें क्यों कर रहे हैं and one is a writer and I'll be moderating this session so I think one of the good interesting pieces about this is that there are other sides of physicians as well that people don't get to see and just say being our culture a lot of us get sent into medicine as well so I think that might be my first question to Dr. Saad Shafqat as well कि हमें ये बताइए कि did you want to be a physician was there another career which probably belongs to authorship and writing books and journalism and stuff that you may have missed and you kind of feel like that real calling वहाँ पे थी
एक तो thank you to everyone जो आप लोग आए हैं और Ayesha that's a very it's an excellent question because I think growing up in our society certainly at the time when I was growing up child of the 70s we had blinders on almost because if you wanted to succeed and you were from a middle class background you were limited to the professions and the standard professions were engineering and medicine बहुत से बहुत law का सोच लेते थे थोड़ा सा 80s में business IBA शुरू हो गया था MBA का concept आ गया था अब तो खैर बहुत options हैं there's media there's arts and everything and so in retrospect I would have really gone into journalism which is not to say that I don't enjoy my work as a physician I find it very fulfilling but also I think at heart I'm really a journalist and I just love the whole concept of gathering information, figuring things out, and then presenting it to the potential reader in a very consumable fashion to make, just to make it very appealing. Right. And so उसमें फिर storytelling भी उसी की एक instinct
So anybody who knows Dr. Saad Shafqat personally will tell you that that's spot on. कोई भी ऐसी चीज़ नहीं है जो उनसे रह सकती है. किसी ना किसी तरीके से information आपसे वो निकलवा ही लेते हैं. So, Saad, tell us about the book. Let's start. What made you write this book?
What made me write the book? I guess just the storytelling instinct, that's one, because I think every human likes to tell stories. It's very much part of who we are. But also, it became very, I had a number of role models because if you wanted to write, as I don't know, आप लोगों ने वो एक movie देखी है, Blinded by the Light. Blinded by the Light में there's a Pakistani kid growing up in the 60s and 70s in Britain, in the Pakistani community, which is relatively ghettoized. और उसको बहुत शौक है लिखने का और writing का. वो कहता है मैं writer बनूंगा. And his parents are flabbergasted. And there is a line in the movie that says, how can you become a writer? Do you know any Pakistani writer? Do you know one Pakistani writer? Name one. And this is in the 70s. And ab jo hai to bahar hai bilkul. So, just the subcontinental genre of writing English, that was also a motivator. That, you see people like, I mean, it's a toxic name now, but he did start the trend, which is Salman Rushdie. We can't take that away. And of course, I mean, he was very offensive, वो सब अलग चीज़ है. But उसके बाद आप पाकिस्तान से देखें अगर आप तो कामला शम्सी, मोहसिन हामिद, मोहम्मद हनीफ, दानियाल मोइनुद्दीन, उमर शाहिद हामिद, Bina Shah, मतलब पूरी is a whole lineup. And so just wanting to be part of that trend and of that movement, I felt that I wanted to just express myself. And so I suppose that's the driving force. And you write what you know. If you know about a hospital, then you write about a hospital.
So at the very beginning of the book, there's a declaration that ये किताब जो है, it's mostly a work of fiction. So tell us about that mostly, and what is not fiction, what is fact, and if you're ready to talk about that.
So the book is the book is set in a teaching hospital called Avicenna University Hospital, and it loosely resembles a private teaching hospital in Karachi, which also has similar initials. So, and which is my workplace. So it is very much, because that's where I've been. I was an AKU graduate from the first batch, and then I came back after training abroad in 2000s. I've been there for 22 years as faculty. So it's very much modeled on the day-to-day life that I've gone through at AKU. और mostly a work of fiction का मतलब ये है कि it's a tricky question, but what it is that different parts of the story have happened in real life, but the whole thing together has not. So, for example, some of the incidents and even some of the characters are based on some composites of people that I know, and I guess that's just natural that you have to write. The raw material has to come from somewhere, and it comes from.
Composite care. I mean, my thought was that the main character was maybe inspired by me, but now you're saying this is a composite of different people.
So there are two central characters in the book. They both compete for the leadership of the surgery department. One is a man, one is a woman. Both of them are very strong, very accomplished, very type A personalities, and the book is based on their conflict. And I've experienced a number of very strong female characters in my life. I'm 57. It's a long time to experience women in your life, and so very no-nonsense mother, very interesting and demanding sisters. उनमें से सबसे बड़ी बहन यहाँ बैठी हुई हैं. And then and then of course my wife, who came into my life in 1983. I was 18, and another hyper strong character. And then, very strong women colleagues at AKU, at Aga Khan, who are very accomplished, who are in leadership roles, who have done dramatic things, who have international profiles, and Ayesha is one of them. And I have to acknowledge that, yes, the female character, part of it is you, not a lot. I mean, some of it is you.
I can take some credit.
But there are others. So it's a composite of 3 or 4 very strong, professionally accomplished women that I know, yeah.
So when you started, I mean, it's obviously a story of conflict between the two sort of main characters, a man and a woman. So did you intend this to be a battle of the sexes?
Who's taking pictures? Oh. It kind of, it's a good question. I did not start it out as being a battle. I started it out as being a tale of academic intrigue and faculty politics. That was the intent. But sort of along the way, that's what it became. It became a gender, I mean, there are gender undertones, and it is a battle of the sexes in some respects. So I didn't start, but I think that's the joy also of writing fiction. ये जैसे रेहाना आलम भी बैठे हैं यहाँ पे, accomplished fiction writer, कि you go in the direction that pleases you. You don't have to follow a script. You don't have to follow any rules. And so just where the thought takes you, you're constructing a plot in your head, you hit sort of a a barrier, you're not sure how to take the story forward, and you find a little tangent, and you pursue that side door, and that leads to another new, like a new world, and then the story completely changes and meanders through. So it's like a flowing river, and so the river flowed, and eventually it became a battle of the sexes.
So I have to tell you, and I've asked you this at another launch before as well, that the main female character, you've used adjectives that are positive for her. She's assertive, she's strong-minded, she's beautiful, she's intelligent. The rival character, Hamid, the adjectives used are not necessarily, means there's more around aggressiveness, there's a little bit of talk amongst friends that borders on kind of feminine, misogynistic kind of talk and stuff. So was that unintentional? It just happened, it just flowed?
So Aisha's quite right. The male character is cast almost as a villain, although I tried to make him a little more complex. Not a villain, maybe an anti-hero, sort of. And when the story was first written in my first draft, there was a lot of negatives with him, because that's kind of what I've seen when academic politics gets dirty. Men will play dirty, and there's, take no prisoners, and often it becomes very asymmetric and unequal, and I wanted to reflect that. But I have to tell you that my editor, Faiza Sultan Khan, she picked that up, and she said, no, Saad, this is too one-sided, and this is almost like you've made him a villainous robot. And so you have to lighten it up with, so there are parts in there where I try to humanize him a little bit more. He comes across sometimes as a bit of a demon, but he's also a very accomplished eye specialist, eye surgeon. He's doing a lot of good that way. He's a wonderful family man, and there are good aspects to him also. But you're right. I mean, the reason I guess that he looks a bit of a demon is because that's what I've seen.
That's what I've seen. So now the question that is he also based on some people that is probably not a very kosher one.
Hamid, the people, my friends from AKU, Hamid is based on 3 composite characters that all of you know who will go unnamed until my dying day. Yes.
So what was it writing the character, sort of the nuances, the conflicts, of a woman? Was that, and because of course you aren't a woman, so you've seen many around you, strong women around you, but was it just again another organic process, or was it a strategy? Were you asking your friends and daughter,
No.
wife,
I wanted to take it as a challenge to be able to write as a woman and try to get it right. And I hope I mostly got it right. I try to think the way that the women in my life I know think. And there's a whole, mashallah, the whole selection to choose from. Sister-in-law bhi बैठी हुई है यहाँ पे, वो भी बहुत, very strong-willed person. So I mean, there are parts where I was not sure, and I had my daughter, who's mashallah not here, I don't think, but she's also very literary minded. She read the draft and she pointed out 2 areas where she thought that this was tricky. So that was one, and I changed them. And then my editor Faiza pointed out one other area which, thank God, I changed, because now that I read it back from the original draft, it was a little, it was going to be a little too much. And so that helped, having women read it helped. And then when the book came out, Bina Shah, who's a wonderful friend and a writing colleague, I gave a copy to Bina, and Bina read through it very quickly, which was very flattering for me. And she said that, there is one, you've done well capturing a woman's voice, but there's one part which is tricky. And it's early in the book. I'm not going to tell you what that is, but I think you guys will figure it out. It has to do with, well, forget it. You'll find it. It's in the first chapter, in fact. So she said, yahan you were just flirting with disaster, but you just kind of went close and then came back. But yeah, I enjoyed trying to articulate what a woman, and I hope the women here, if they read it, I hope you like it.
So yeah, so no working woman is spending 30 minutes in the morning thinking कि आज कौन से designer के कपड़े पहनने, they'll just get going and go. Get out. Okay, so Eki, you've already said it's set at Al Khan University, and you know the unnamed people probably they've read the book, probably figure out, okay, you know, it's like this is us. How was it received at the workplace?
How was it received at AKU? You know, I mean, to be honest, most people haven't read it yet. I think हमारी culture में इतनी कोई वो जो लोग पढ़ने का शौकीन हैं वो हैं और there is a sizable reading public.
Right.
But I think doctors का कोई इतना ज़्यादा interest, so maybe that's a good thing actually.
Yeah, that's why you got away with it.
Maybe that's why I've gotten away with it. But the few of my colleagues who've read it, they've all liked it. And has anybody complained or has anybody moaned or griped? Nobody has, but I sense they want to, but they haven't yet, you know, brought themselves to that level, to that stage. It might come at some point.
Because they might show up in the next book in a
Possibly.
much different light.
Possibly.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about, this is your second book, Breath of Death के बाद से पहले आपने biography भी लिखी है, जागनेदार की. So how has your life as a writer changed? How have you evolved as you've written your first, second, third book?
Breath of Death was, so Cutting Edge was Javed Miandad's autobiography where I went to him and I said, I want to write your story. And we sat down for about 6 months off and on, and I took a year to write it. And so that was just, you know, just polishing up Miandad's words and voice. And then Breath of Death का जो मुझे idea आया था वो ये था कि, you know, against the storytelling instinct, this came out in 2013. The feedback I got from that book, many people enjoyed it, they're good, but some people said that in parts it dragged. And that felt like a slap on the face to me. Because to me, that's, as a writer, you are doing a disservice to the reader if the reader is having to make an effort. And so what I've tried to do in this book, एक page भी drag ना करे. That the moment you finish, you know, just like if you're a test match, if you're a real cricket buff and you follow a test match closely, when the day one ends, you're already excited about the start of day two. And so I have tried to write the book in a way, learning from the previous experience, that when the page ends, you are already excited about the start of the next page. So I hope it's come out that way.
So I'll ask my last question, because there might be aspiring writers sitting in this room as well. A little bit about the publishing process, and you know, and also if there are aspiring writers, what are some of the things that you may want to say to them?
I mean, yeah, that's the getting published is the big hurdle, and I mean there are a lot of excellent unpublished writers, and it is a bottleneck. I guess the advice is don't be afraid of failure. If you want to become a published writer, rejection, critique, failing, just feeling defeated, feeling that you don't have it, all of this, you just accept it as part of the baggage, as part of the reality that this road is full of. And so just don't be afraid of that part. Just, if you believe you have it in you and you want to tell a story, forget about the failures, don't let the rejections get to you. I mean, one is human, it builds up after a while, but you know, just do your best effort. So you know, just steer through it, and if you stand your ground. I love this cricket analogy, मैं हर अपने students को भी बताता हूँ. You know, in cricket, all you have to do as a good batsman is stay at the wicket. If you're staying at the wicket, eventually, before you know it, आपकी century होगी. And the same, I think, is if you're an aspiring writer, just stand your ground, stay at the crease, stay at the wicket, and you'll get 100 before you know it.
So do we have questions from the audience?
Mohsin.
Mohsin and then Ji. Mohsin.
I think, is there a mic for
Mic.
the audience? Voice is excellent.
What if you turn out to be a horrible writer like Temina Durrani or Mohsin Hamid? So, commit suicide? What?
You know, Mohsin, that's a fantastic. So, for someone like you who has a public personality, it's a very interesting question, because I think once you put yourself out there in the public domain with anything, with a piece of art, with a piece of performance, so you have to be prepared to be, you know, shot down as well, because हर किसी के opinions आएंगे. And in the marketplace of ideas, in the marketplace of opinion, you will reach your own level. And I guess that's the bargain you make. You have to accept once you throw yourself out into the public domain. भाई hard work तो I think you count yourself lucky because there are many people whose hard work completely goes unrecognized. There is a huge pyramid. I think hard work se thoda bahut bhi agar recognition mil jaye, Allah ka shukr ada kare.
There's a question here.
Wa Islam.
क्रिकेट नॉन फिक्शन हॉस्पिटल से आप इन्वॉल्व हैं तो हॉस्पिटल में फिक्शन आ गया ये क्रिकेट में फिक्शन कब लिख रहे हैं आप
बहुत अच्छा सवाल है आपका. अच्छा, if I do I have you right? You are Mr. मैं नाम भूल रहा हूँ. Patient Behbood Society? No.
which one
Were you in the AKU's Patient Behbood Society?
नहीं यार
Okay, sorry. I'm mistaking for some. थे ये. Monim Sahab, yes. Okay. Okay, there he is. Yes, now I recognize you.
हम सब नकाबपोश बन गए ना आजकल नहीं मैं कह रहा था क्रिकेट में फिक्शन
बहुत अच्छा idea. So, people have suggested this. In fact, जो Dawn Books and Authors में, the lady who interviewed me, she said that, combine medical fiction with cricket fiction. And so the thought came into my head that there's a World Cup going on in Karachi, and there's a star player, maybe, Rizwan, Babar Azam equivalent, who gets a knock on the head, gets badly injured, has a concussion, and gets wheeled into the ER at Aga Khan. And there the whole story starts. So, but the thing about cricket fiction is that cricket already is a fiction. Because, sports is a make-believe. It's a make-believe conflict where you don't want to go to war, but you still want to compete. And so the instinct is still to, channelize that conflict into something that is relatively sanitized, that doesn't draw blood, and you at the end of the day, you can still shake hands. So I'm not sure if that really, I've read books where just a Chinaman, a Sri Lankan author, ki Kamar Bhai, I think you might remember. It's a good story, but already you're imagining there's a game, and then in the game also there's an imagination. So mujhe laga ke I just don't feel comfortable with creating fiction out of cricket. Already jo hai wo वैसे ही make believe hai.
But you've written about academic politics when you said you wanted to, so cricket politics is also a huge
Yeah, it is,
thing,
I
so there's-
suppose. Yeah, it is. This is a good suggestion. It's something one can look into, actually. Yeah.
Anyone else? Other questions?
Ji,
Nazia.
Nazia.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Nazia. I just wanted to ask because मेरा एक music में interest है, and I know that a lot of professional musicians and aspiring musicians are now turning to social media to put their work forth and to bring their work to a much larger audience. So have you thought about sort of taking that route also to promote your work and to bring it to people, who now
Yeah.
sort of access a lot of material through social media?
So, bilkul, lekin, the thing with this something the size of a book, अभी तक जो है जो dissemination tools हैं वो publishers के हाथ में ही हैं. Because it takes a while to consume a book, and you have to get the marketing right and so forth. So, if it's a song, or if it's like a Danish Ali video that's 3 minutes, that's still, yeah, it's worth looking into. I have not explored that. I have Facebook and Twitter accounts. My Instagram is, I'm 57. Instagram jo hai was I think 20 and below ke liye, yeah, 30 and below ke liye. So, but yeah, most writers I know are still going the publishing route, but this thing is, you're right, the industry is open for disruption, and some of it we are already seeing, yeah.
Ji Rehan.
I think Micah.
So you said that you did change some of the areas which your daughter suggested or that Faiza, your editor, suggested. So tell us one of those, if you can.
I suppose I can. So there is a point where the Tanya, who's the female lead, she's a very accomplished trauma surgeon. She's competing with Hamid, who's the eye surgeon, and Hamid does a dirty trick where he tries to present her as having an affair with her trainee. He takes a picture and he tries to, just throw her off her game. And when he confronts her with this, I'm going to blackmail you with this unless you drop out of the race, she goes to her office, she starts crying, she's locked her door, and her very good friend, Bina Sardar, who's head of radiology, she realizes what's going on. She comes to Tanya's office, knocks, enters the door, and the first thing Tanya says to her is, this is my original draft. First line was that I feel like I've been raped. And Zehra, my daughter, said, okay, cut that out, because that's just not the way a woman would think. And so I had to, that was something like I was trying to express her anguish, but then I learned from, so I'm glad I had her go through that.
Another question? Ji, Kamar sir.
Kamar bhai.
Saad, there's a lot of rivalry and politics in cricket. How much rivalry and politics in your profession?
बहुत अच्छा सवाल है कमर भाई. There's a lot of it actually. There's especially in academic medicine, because medicine itself, you have huge egos with big name consultants who've got tremendous following, have wonderful skill. So already just being a top brain surgeon or top eye surgeon or top heart specialist, already you are in your, जैसे urologist भी बैठे हुए, neurosurgeon भी बैठा